On the one hand, the internet has proven to be a very powerful tool to political activists during the past few years. It has brought forth new perspectives of political communication, both bottom-up as well as top-down, so from those governing to those governed. At the same time, governments have also learned to use the internet not just as a medium to create dialogue with their citizens, but also as a medium to spy on critical voices and thinkers. Increasingly, authoritarian regimes are finding ways to filter, censor and survey the internet.
Für uns Internet ist jetzt heute wie ein Markt, wie ein Bazar, wo die Nachbarn sich treffen und Nachrichten erzählen und zu jeder Nachricht natürlich einen Kommentar geben und so die Informationen weitergeben. Und das finde ich aber positiv und gut. Ja.
Und andere Medien, wie würdest du die Rolle der russischen Medienlandschaft insgesamt einschätzen? Berichten traditionelle Medien überhaupt über die Proteste?
Ich denke, dass die heutige russische traditionelle Medien sind keine Institut der Zivilgesellschaft. Sie haben diese Rolle nicht mehr. Und Mehrheit von Leuten vertraut auch die Medien. Das ist nicht die Quelle aktueller Informationen. Wenn man eine Zeitung liest, man ist skeptisch, weil ich glaube, die Leute suchen diese alternative Informationsquelle, deswegen soziale Medien entwickeln sich so sehr und auch diese Protestbewegung darauf entstand, weil das einzige so freien Raum, das ist ohne eine Medienmagnat, ohne politische Bewegung, das ist außerhalb.
The revolution kind of filtered out. So people can now judge this is fair media, this is unfair media, this is biased media. This anchor is such a two-faced guy who before the revolution was praising the regime and then after the revolution he's praising the revolution, so obviously that's not someone to judge. So what happened is that a lot of people who were not given the chance to speak, a lot of people who were actually very good media practitioners were not allowed space. Now they are. As for the social media, because sometimes I feel when people ask this question that we kind of had a plan. Okay, you're going to use Facebook for this and that, Twitter for this and that. I believe what happened was that in times of trouble, you kind of have the instinct to try out different survival tools.
Well, in France, you know, main media belong mostly to arms vendors, bankers, large non-media companies that use them for promotion. There is a kind of an internal censorship on most of these medias, even if it's not real censorship by the states.
And maybe you can give us some examples, like even in countries like France, how is the net being used for different kinds of political communication or protest? Maybe some creative examples.
For example, on the hacker scene, you see the emergence of Anonymous, you know, the decentralized political activist that use IRC, channels that hackers use to create worldwide meetings, and they tend to hack corporation website to show the world their message. But you also have hacker groups such as Telecomics. Maybe some people know about these guys that try to provide technical support, cryptographic manuals, to help political activists such as we have here to protect themselves against the state. Another example is law activists we have in France, such as la Quadrature du Net. It's, they perform a citizen lobbyism in French Parliament, for instance, against law Hadopi. And European Union Parliament also. These days they are fighting a lot against ACTA. So they coordinate a lot with the net to perform international meetings on IRC. And for instance, but they use the net in million ways. And for instance, they also created a tool called political memory that keeps tracks of every vote by the members of the parliaments. So you can, so people can come back later and see the representatives that changed their mind on or how they voted a few years ago.
I'd like to quote a landsman, a fellow Belarusian, Evgeny Morozov, who's published the book The Net Delusion, and is probably the most famous person from Belarus out there talking on the topic of internet, apart from you right now. So he basically says in his book that the whole idea about internet being able to further and promote democracy is just a big hype, and the internet is actually much better suited for governments who want to know what their citizens are up to.
Но вообще, да, во время всех этих акций протеста я почему о хомячках стал говорить? В несколько раз, даже в несколько десятков, а то и в сотни раз больше людей наблюдает за акцией протеста в онлайне.
Das Problem ist, dass, warum spricht er über die feige Hamster, die quasi vom Computer sitzen, weil zahlenmäßig sitzen, also die höchste Zahl sitzt vor dem Monitor und beobachtet sozusagen die Protestaktionen im Livestream vor dem Computer und ist nicht draußen auf der Straße.
Чем вот находятся в это время на площади и рискуют своим здоровьем, своей свободой.
Also viel weniger sind auf der Straße, riskieren ihr Leben und die Freiheit.
И я, кстати, предлагал сейчас этим интернет-СМИ отказаться от трансляции онлайна, чтобы, а для чего вы транслируете? Для кого? Для тех людей, которые боятся туда прийти.
Und er hat immer versucht, die Webseiten und die Medien dazu zu bewegen, diese Livestream nicht zu machen, damit viel mehr Leute auf die Straße gehen.
This was one of the very strong misconceptions that was very obvious, especially in the foreign media during their coverage of the revolution, because they kept referring to the revolution as the Twitter and Facebook revolution. And that's not the case, because those people who were at the front lines during the 28th of January 2011 were not Twitter or Facebook users. In fact, I don't think they were computer users to begin with. They were just simple people driven by anger and frustration and the need for food and oppressed for years, and that's what took them so far. They had no life to begin with, so they did not fear of losing one.